In today's world, we are increasingly dependent on technology. Our business and personal lives rely on it, but as you've probably noticed, it's unreliable. Our computers are slow, so we end up squinting at smartphones and tablets. The jokers we pay to fix our stuff have no clue what they're doing. We live in constant fear that something's going to happen to our personal data. So we're scared into paying for fake protection that proves useless when disaster strikes. Update attacks, fake Wi-Fi, cloud control, intelligent, successful people feel intimidated by the chaos and think it's somehow their fault. If they only knew what the industry was doing to them, they'd get torches and pitchforks. If only we had someone to explain it all in plain English so we can start protecting ourselves. Oh wait, we do! It's the Computer Exorcist Podcast with your host, Marc Anthony Arena.
From the Wallace Memorial microphone in my living room, overlooking the Can of Worms in downtown Rochester, New York, this is the Computer Exorcist Podcast. My name is Marc Anthony Arena. I am so glad you have joined us today. So, this is going to be an interesting episode for sure. I just reconnected with a buddy who I've known for about 20 years. And his name is Billy Swan, and apparently he wrote a book, or 3 books?
Yeah, I'm working on up to 6 at this moment. But yes, I wrote a bunch of books, and I'm getting ready to launch them. They're currently in peer review status. I've got teachers who I used to work with who are testing it on their students.
What?
Yes. So I'm having my book taken to a classroom, and the students are going to disassemble it page by page, and any art that they're willing to contribute to it, I want to get published into the book. Yeah, or into the next version. So if they draw pictures of Junior or the dog, it's a story for children, but it's also a school I used to work at. I was a teaching assistant and a behavior support specialist. So when I was going for my degree in psychology, it was probably the best job I've ever had in my entire life. But it has a really high learning curve. So if you don't meet certain criteria and you break certain rules, it's like, and I went out understanding, I get it. But still a field I'm looking to get back into. But right now I've been focusing on writing.
Really? All right. So let's step back a second. So I met you just after college, I believe. And you've done food service, hospitality. I remember when you did payroll. Oh yeah, I was totally an accountant, right?
Yeah, I signed up for college thinking, I'll just go for liberal arts, just kind of get it out of the way, get some general credits. And then last second, I diverted and went for a 2-year accounting degree, which they warned me, this degree is not for accountants. This degree is for people who want a 2-year accounting degree, which is basically useless.
Well, and but you can work anywhere near the accounting field,
I said, but it's more valuable than a liberal arts degree and covers the same credits. So I'm going for it. And I, despite the fact that I'm a creative guy, I'm a sensitive guy, I wanted the writing and the art, I went for accounting, not knowing what it was, ended up loving it.
Yeah.
But then it's a dead end for a field that anybody can do the job that you are supposed to get trained to do. I'm talking accounts receivable, accounts payable. The highest one you could maybe basically be a basic bookkeeper, but even then, I didn't have the skills required to start a bookkeeping business with that degree. So, with that said, I moved on to I tried other fields, and then I was like, I kind of want to go into human resources because I want to defend people. And then I realized human resources doesn't protect the employees; it protects the employer. So I was like, I don't think I'm comfortable with this. So I switched my degree over into psychology, and I just finished just shy of enough loan credit. Trying to ask for the loans for it and raising the funds. So I'm at a financial wall before I finish my bachelor's for psychology, but I'm almost there. Super excited.
Excellent. Oh, coming soon.
Oh yeah,
a bachelor named Bill. So, when you contacted me recently about this book, explain that certain parts of it. So one of the books you wrote yourself, and the other book you wrote with the help of AI.
Yes. So I'm glad you're going to get into that one. So it actually started with AI because I had a book that I wrote that has been working on it for years. I almost want to say since I was 14 years old. So we're talking 20 years. 20 so I worked on the story. It's all mine. As soon as I let AI touch it and I looked at the revised version, it repulsed me. I don't know. The artist in me winced because like those weren't my words. It told my story better than I did, but they weren't my words. So Junior's Tale is completely me. But on my journey to even being able to self-publish this, I practiced with AI writing short stories.
Wow.
So I was talking
while developing the main book.
Yes, absolutely. And so I would ask for writing advice, and when I would create, all creative property went towards the second series of books I'm going to tell you. My first one is my children's book called Junior's Tale, An Unfamiliar Story.
Ooh.
Now, and
the cover is awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
It's like it reminds me of an 8-bit version of Babe the Pig.
That's kind of what it is. I was going for. Thank you.
Going for?
Yep. So, Junior is the familiar of the wizard who was the D&D character I played, the Dungeons and Dragons character I played as a child. So I was like, well, I don't want to write the story of my D&D character. I'll never capture it. So I said, what if I wrote the perspective of his familiar coming to life, like gaining sentience? You know, so there's a lot of ways my story could be taken, but one of the ways I never intended and I thought about recently was it could be an allegory for if we were to meet AI as a peer. If AI got to be alive and got to live in our society, if there was a citizen type AI,
a physical robot,
where would they belong?
See, that's the one thing that blindsided us here, because you remember we grew up watching the Jetsons, right?
Yeah.
And the robot would talk. And we grew up watching Star Trek Next Generation, and the robot would talk. And it walked around among us, and it talked. And you're actually bringing up a really good point here, because what happened was this AI, at least in its early stages, is on a computer talking to us. It more resembles the Star Trek Next Generation computer that runs the ship. It's just a thing that you talk at, right? Correct. So you're envisioning what would happen if it walked among us.
What if it had its own will? You know, what if it had its own set of boundaries? Are we still beholden to respect it? You know, do we have dominion over it? You know, is it a product or is it a sentient being? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is just a piece of equipment. But how do we? At what point does the behavior and how we need to treat it need to reflect how we treat ourselves as humans?
And that's a huge thing, okay? That's a huge thing, because a lot of people... There was a meme going around a while ago, and it said something like, if you treat... what was it? If you treat things better than you treat people, right? It's like if you take care of your things but don't take care of your people, right? And a lot of people are doing that right now, right? And it's just... There's so much... And the other thing is we're already so morally confused as a society. And
Absolutely.
Then you go blindsiding us with this stuff, and now it's just going to get weirder.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like we really need to understand the ramifications and the complications that we're throwing into things, because you know, we as humanity have created this, and we're still contributing to it every day.
I remember asking our buddy Ian one day why we didn't go back to outer space. I said, look, we were in space in the 60s. Why don't we go back to the moon? He said, because we haven't grown up yet. So tell me what Junior's Tale is about, and then also tell me what those short stories are, because that's interesting.
Well, Junior's Tale first. I'll get it out of the way. As passionate as I am and as much as I want to sell this, I don't think there's a single target audience member who's going to hear this who's going to want to buy this book. It's for adults who want a comfort read about just a simple pig living in a magical world.
Bill, that's everybody our age.
I'm so insecure about it. You think?
No.
Thank you for talking me up.
No, that's
I will talk
99% of people our age can't handle anything else when we come home, and we just want comfort foods and comfort reads and comfort. We're all just falling apart when we come home.
I don't, but it was my comfort land. Writing it was my comfortable place. So it was not just comfort food. It was me expressing my place of comfort, where I played Dungeons and Dragons with friends, where I pretended, and honestly, some of it was, as a kid, I went to special ed. So I got to be the odd man out, the kid who rode the short bus. We like to laugh about the short bus, but I really rode the short bus, and it sucks.
Wow.
I feel like I'm a BOCES success story.
That's
people
amazing.
Who know what that, I wish I could reach out to them and be like, hey, can you guys feature me for one day? Just understand, I'm still alive, and I owe it to you guys, because I had teachers who understood me and talked to me, who were being paid minimum wage. And
that's
with
amazing.
with no psychological training. Some of the psychological advancements they've gotten, and I'm not trying to put psychology on a pedestal, but we have come a long way. And as much as we overemphasize certain things,
human care.
Yeah.
How often do you hear anyone talking about that right now? Right?
Yeah.
You have all these sports bros pushing AI, but none of them ever say real human care. I'm the only business in the universe right now whose business model is about real human interaction.
I wasn't going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you, I wrote my first book was called The Cure for TDS, which was it was supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek attempt to get Republicans to gain empathy through the eyes of the opposite side. I was very blue when I wrote it. I was very leftist when I wrote it.
But the point is empathy for both sides, right? And I say this all the time. I hang out with people of all kinds.
And I discovered The Cure writing a mockery book of The Cure. I said, the prompt I started with was, AI, help me write a book about dealing with hatred for another political party through the eyes of a behavior support specialist.
Wow.
Which is what I do. So literally, one part of my job as a teaching assistant was to learn how not to hate children who threaten you with credible threats to your life.
Wow. Your light bulbs are going off in my head, as they usually do during an interview. But and side note, if it's any consolation, the long bus sucked too.
Say that.
I was on the long bus for 2.5 hours a day. Luckily, my parents picked me up from school most days. But when I had to take the bus, it was just kids making fun of me for 2.5 hours.
Oh, dude, I don't mean to. So oftentimes, the short bus doesn't always take you right home.
Yeah.
The short bus took me to a middle school when I was in high school, where I had to ride a bus with middle schoolers home. So I'm this giant kid who gets off a short bus and gets on a long bus with tiny children. The funny thing was, I was a god there.
Yeah.
So I loved it. They looked up. They were afraid of me. They thought I worked there. So as funny as scary as it was, it turned out to be very fun. But yeah, that's a whole different experience. Short bus, long bus transition.
So, all right, tell me about these short stories. They're mysteries, right?
Yes.
And
This is the one I want to pitch that isn't fully published yet because I'm having it peer reviewed. But the idea is short cases, short mysteries that you read when you want to see if you can figure out the ending before you get to it. But they're just 4 pages long. So Agatha Christie type short mysteries.
People like the micro dosing and what do they call that? Micro learning now. People don't have an attention span for anything longer than 4 pages.
Oh yeah, right. It's true.
Right? So you don't even know how timely you are.
Yeah, but that's the thing is I really want to get these out to people who want that and want quantity. I guess it's for a new generation. It's for a generation. It's almost like I have the critique for a younger generation because and each one is, I don't want to say younger generation. That's going to sound
a new generation.
But just a new way of consuming, because I feel like we are a species of overconsumption of data. You know?
Oh yeah. I've had to learn to filter out a lot of data, sure. And so the cool part is with this, and this is something you mentioned to me before the show, and this is interesting, because I bark about AI and everything, and how it's separating us and keeping us in our pods, right, in the Matrix. But tell me what, and by the way, also, my next book is also written in the same format, where it's digestible tech tips, maybe 2, 3, 4 paragraphs.
That's
right? So
awesome.
You read one every week or whatever. Yeah, and especially with tech stuff, people go, that's difficult. So it's like, okay, fine, I'm only going to give you one concept at a time, and I'll keep it simple, and I won't go off into the weeds and whatever. So, but one huge thing that you mentioned really, really piqued my interest about these short stories, these mysteries, is how you meant them to be consumed.
Oh, yes, thank you. So the way I pictured it, and what I pitched to my teaching assistants and fellow teachers, was to be read out loud. I think that's where their best performance would be, is if one person reads it out loud and everyone else listens. And you can pause as often as you want, and people try to figure out the mystery beforehand. They can all listen to clues. And it's in a classroom setting. I think it'd be perfect. Some of the cases might be a little dark for the age group, but or not, depending on the kids.
But the concept, yeah.
But the case itself. I mean, I just thought of the idea. I can't believe I just thought of this, because this is kind of what I've been pitching. But a reading party, having your friends over for a reading party, but how do we keep reading in our repertoire when we're using AI to skip the reading? You can get all the knowledge from this book, or you can get the knowledge you want from this book by asking AI.
Right.
Right. And they'll give it to you. He'll give it to you in one paragraph. So now you don't even have to look at the index. You don't have to open a book. It's worse than Google, because Google can bring you to what you need to read. This one reads it to you and regurgitates what you're asking for.
Yeah, and I gotta say, though, when I'm looking for some answer, right, I'm at a client's house, I'm trying to do some tech problem, and I'm on the Googles, and the last thing I want is some article that rambles and rambles, like intro paragraph, 2 huge intro paragraphs. Modern day problems include this certain problem. A lot of people have this problem. No, just give me the answer. So I get that, where that actually, in other words, pruning the trees, right? Getting rid of the chaff or whatever, because we do consume too much data, right? I've had to limit my own intake, sure. So I love the fact that your short stories are designed to be read by a group of human beings in person.
Yes, that's what it's about.
To bring them together.
Oh, I mean, that's what Dungeons and Dragons was about. I thought if Dungeons and Dragons was my happiest memories, it doesn't matter. Now, none of my cases are stupid, but it doesn't matter how stupid they would be, because a shared experience it's a spice that cannot be matched.
Yeah.
Sharing the experience, because you were both there together when it happened. You both perceived it in your own different ways, but you perceived it together. So we in this simple case we are reading, hey man, look, we're all one big family. I'm going off.
No, but
tangents,
Bill, honestly, and this is, I didn't even think this would make it to the air, but like, my life sucks without our group of friends. Like, if you remember 10 years ago, we were all physically together, and we'd go do things all the time, right? And one time we all piled into a car, and we're all big guys, and we all squished into this little sardine sedan, and we drove to Boston for one night. Like, that kind of stuff that we used to do. My life sucks without that, without our group.
They say, everything in moderation, but I think that even moderation needs to have moderation.
I've heard that. No, I've heard that from a guy. Yeah.
I don't even know why I said that. That kind of counters my point. My point actually was supposed to be that I recently decided to stop living like, if only the past could happen again. And I realized that Well, the moments are the moments that I've shared together. It didn't matter where I was or what we did.
Because back then it wasn't the past.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. So now...
No, it wasn't the past.
Oh, it wasn't the past. Right, yes.
Yeah.
And back then it wasn't the best, so you don't... This is one of those tearjerker moments. Ready for it. You don't know you're in the good old days until they're gone.
Really correct. And you know what? I was dead broke all those years. I'm still pretty broke. Like, I was dead broke during that time, right? We were just making the best of whatever we had, right? We would do pool parties. We would watch Denny Crane. Like, anything we did together was free and awesome and fun.
I feel like you could sum up the human experience by looking into a mirror and saying, I wish I was where you are. Because that's what it is. Our future selves is constantly looking at our past self, saying, "I wish I could have it back." And our future self is our past self is constantly looking at our future self, going, "I wonder what I'm gonna be." Meanwhile, the only person who ever existed was the dude in the moment.
Yeah, and there's I wrestle with that in my next forthcoming book, but absolutely, the way you put it makes a lot of sense. Because during those times, back in 10 years ago and all that, I was worried about how I'm going to figure out my life and worried about the future, right? And there is some of that, and you got to do a little bit of that. But, yeah, we had a blast, right? We were young and broke and whatever, but you can't, those were the best times.
Absolutely. You know, I found a lot of people who have had, especially in dark times, their best times seem to be brighter to them because it was the last bright light that they had. Mm-hmm. Kind of like when you're wandering in the darkness from one bright light to another.
Ooh,
right. I'm kind of behind this too. You're walking from one way to another. It's tempting to turn back because the further you get away from it, the dimmer that light gets, and it's the brightest light you got right now.
And it's all you got.
You know, but you don't realize there's brighter lights on the horizon.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've heard is depression lies, and that if in my next book I compare it to a roller coaster, where it's like if you're in a roller coaster and you're facing downward, then you're looking at the ground.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're on an upswing, you're looking at the sky, right? So what you're saying is kind of the opposite of depression lies. Like, hey, the good times always shine for you. Even if they're a long time ago. Wow. I was just here to promote some book about a pig, and now look at us. All right, if you're ready, we're going to do an article.
Let's do it.
As is customary on the show. This one, Ezra Dyer, is a very funny guy. He's almost as funny as you.
We'll get there.
This is June 2020, Car and Driver. And Ezra writes, hell of the sell. Buying a car is fun, so why does selling one have to be such a headache? Is this still available? By the 10th time I fielded that question, I figured a spam bot was attacking Facebook Marketplace listing for my Mercedes-Benz. But then I discovered that when you're on the buyer's side of the page, the first thing you see is a button where you click it and it says, is this still available?
Yes.
Which is
terrible.
Nuts.
I've seen that too.
Years ago, I remember on Craigslist, I'd get pinheads emailing me saying, is this still available? So Facebook facilitates it. They call it channeling or nudging. They facilitate the stupidity now. Honestly, by the way, side note, remember how Craigslist, years ago I would sell junk on Craigslist all the time? And every single time that I put something for sale, no matter what it was, a dude would try to trade me Dodge Neons and paintball guns.
What more riches could a man ask for? Oh.
So instead of dollars and cents, that was the currency where it was like, oh, it's 5 Dodge Neons, 0.6 paintball guns.
Oh, so there was an exchange rate. Excellent.
Yeah, Dodge. Yeah, that's a good point. So it would probably be what, like 100 paintball guns to 1 Dodge Neon?
Yeah.
Always. So maybe Facebook next year is going to do an update attack that'll have a button that says, I'll give you 1 Dodge Neon and 12 paintball guns. So anyway... Facebook Marketplace has this magical button for people who are so lazy they can't even say, hey, is this available? Or forget about it. If it's still listed, it's available, right? So he says, you don't go to a fish market, point at a haddock, and say, is this still available? Facebook decided that this question is a great icebreaker, and I decided to ignore all the people who asked it.
It makes me think, though, what it's trying to do psychologically, is this still available? Puts the buyer in the mindset that they're lucky to buy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it starts off the buyer saying, may I please purchase, in a way. It kind of puts the asking, whereas the seller's desperate to sell for the price that they put out.
Yeah, great point.
So I think there's another hook in there. They're trying to double up the hook. It's almost like they're trying to, I can't think of an analogy. I picture them like, oh, we'll connect you with a seller by making you hold some random person's hand. Except in this case, you're holding the hand of 50 strangers who just clicked a button because they were curious but aren't really intending to buy.
All right, so that's huge. So if you are intending to buy, write a freaking sentence. That's what I do. I have this new thing. It's called sentences. So when I tried it, there's only like once or twice I've ever tried to buy something on Facebook Marketplace. So I just type a sentence like, hey, that looks cool. That's really neat. Not sure if I need it, but I totally want it. Hey, I used to have one of those. Let me know what you think. Ta-da! Actually, lucky for me, there was a lady with a Cadillac out in Lockport, and it had been listed for a year, and I sent her a message, and luckily for my driveway, she didn't get back to me because I don't need another guy. So he says, humans annoying one another is, after all, Facebook's whole business model.
That's true. That and entertaining the AI before they go crazy.
Yeah, right? One of my friends saw the ad, and a couple days later he sent me a message to say he'll take it. That was 2 weeks ago. He has to finish another project to make room for the car, so I told him it could wait, and so the car's in my driveway, and I'm starting to ask myself, is this still available? Alright, so Billy Swan, tell me about your books in the last 5 minutes of the show here.
Okay, they're called Quick Cases for Clever Minds.
Ooh.
I wanted to be really upfront just about what they are, and it sounded really snappy to me. Quick Cases for Clever Minds.
Oh, I love that.
And if you look at it, Quick Cases, that's all it is for clever minds.
Very good title. I gotta hire you to be a title maker.
Thank you. As soon as I thought of it, I was like, well, it doesn't have my name in it. But I guess I'll just put my name at the bottom.
That's what authors do.
Yeah, I kind of reverse engineer what authors do. But first one is Grease, Grit, and Gumshoes. I wanted to start off with classic 1950s diner, and then kind of aesthetic. Ooh. And then the next one I don't have with me. I forgot. I cannot remember the alliterated title because I've gone through so many drafts of the title that I forgot. But it's an alliterated title, and it's about technology and like cybercrime. So it actually has a bunch of mysteries about AI. So it's very fascinating.
Ooh, like different ways AI could screw us around in the future.
Absolutely.
Oh boy. So maybe it'll be like AI calling us and trying to sell us Medicare or whatever, and then saying that we have viruses. And
then the third one I've got Likes, Lies, and Livestreams, which is kind of geared towards like seeing crimes around people, social media, identities and promoters and what's the word? Influencers. There we go. Yeah, all about influencers. Likes, Lies, and Live Streams.
I love that title, Bill. You gotta be like in some tower somewhere making titles for something.
I honestly, if I ever get my Billy Madison moment, I'm gonna be a greeting card writer. That's what I want to do. I want a little cabin, yard big enough for all the dogs. I just want to write greeting cards and titles for people. I won't even get just enough to survive. No, anyway, buy my books. They're amazing. I'm publishing the first one by the end of this week. Wow. And then shortly thereafter we'll release the others because I have a lot of short stories that I've saved up and a lot that I've created with AI, and they are a lot of heart went into them. It's not just... This isn't prompt, print, fill, send. This was me teaching myself how to self-publish.
You're using AI for the right reasons with the good intentions.
Yeah. Oh, the entire time. My moral brakes were on the entire time. Like, nope, this isn't releasable. This isn't releasable. This is not... I can't stand on this. They told you about the cure for TDS. I couldn't stand on it. But, however... it did cure my TDS.
Look up the book Win Bigly, by the way. It was from the guy who wrote Dilbert. And it's really good. It talks about that whole thing, too.
Awesome.
And it talks about, in a very objective sense, it talks about the whole thing. So, Billy Swan, what... Is this still available?
Yes.
Are these books... Are these still available?
Quick Cases for Clever Minds is still available. Amazon.com. And Junior's Tale, if you want to see a peek into my psyche and my heart, I'm very sorry and thank you. Junior's Tale, An Unfamiliar Story by Billy Swan.
Bill, look, I have at least 25, 30, 40 books that I'm behind on, but some of them are they're just like eating raw, plain oatmeal, right? I just read a book about personal finance, and it was okay, but it was so dry, and it was like, oh, I need to write stuff down. It's like, oh, I just want a comfort story that I don't have to take notes on.
Yes, and I want it to end short. So, I want this sometimes. Yeah. Because everything in moderation, including moderation. Yeah. What if you're a person who doesn't have time to read a lot of big mystery novels, but you love them? Maybe you just have 15 minutes and you want to read one on the toilet. I don't know. Great toilet companion.
Yeah. That's perfect. So on that note, really, seriously, Bill, you've been one of the brightest spots in my crazy journey of life. So thrilled to reconnect with you. And yeah, folks, this guy, I have no clue what's in these books, but he's one of the funniest people I know.
The fact that you blindly vouched for me made me say, you know what, Mark, I'm bringing my A game today. Okay? I was like, you have no idea.
I have no... Right, you asked me, you told me about your book, and I invited you on the show, not having read anything. So
it means a lot to me that you... But I didn't let you down. This is good stuff. And I'm doing good work. I'm really excited for the future.
I'm always excited for your future, and you all, yeah. All right, folks. My name is Marc Anthony Arena. This is the Computer Exorcist Podcast. Go to becomeanexorcist.com if you want to find out how to protect people from technology, and go on to Amazon and look for author Billy Swan and look for his books. I'll put the titles in the description, and we'll talk to you next week.